podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Ospreys Diary.
Hello and welcome to a super duper bonus episode of the Ospreys Diary podcast. Only two of us this week, as the other one was unsuccessful in his bid to be on this podcast. But unlike the Bridgend Ravens, he did throw a strop and messaged us late last night that he didn't want to be here, and we couldn't record with him anyway.
Yeston's actually just put out a statement where he's just put the Ospreys Diary logo at the top crossed out.
Yeah,
he's gone full Neath.
Yeah. So RIP. No, I've got Yeston can't make it. He's got other commitments in which he is more than entitled to do so on our time off. But we thought with the big Ospreys news this week that we're signing the 2016 to 2019 All Black squad, we should record a bonus pod.
Which one are you most excited to get?
Well, I was looking at this. I don't want any of the big ones. I want like a Matt Todd.
What do you think?
Yeah, do you know what? Like if I just type in 2017 All Blacks.
Look, so all I'm saying is we all remember Richie McCaw, 2015. Was contracted to play the following Super Rugby season with the Crusaders. He then wins the World Cup, plays the World Cup final, lifts it. That is his last game of rugby. He decides to retire there. He never goes back in for pre-season, and good on him. All I'm saying is he probably will forever feel like he had another season of club rugby in him.
True.
All I'm saying is Richie McCaw had one more year in him, and who would be better to warm the bench for Harry Deeves than Richie McCaw?
Yeah. If I look at the All Black squad that was announced to face the Lions, because this is a good squad. I mean, we could go for Ryan Crotty, the glue that holds the All Blacks together.
That's true. The glue himself. I mean, Milner Scudder's probably affordable now.
Yeah.
He was an MLR for a while.
He was an MLR for a bit. But I was always a big Liam Squire fan.
Oh, yeah, good player.
Good player.
Solid, underrated player. We started early this week.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them are retired, and that just makes them more in our ballpark.
Exactly. Luke Romano.
Kieran Reid has slimmed down enormously and now just does his scary smile all the time. And I think that would be enough. I think we could just get that.
Big fan of Luke Romano.
Luke Romano, good player.
Really good player.
Well,
there's one on here who was uncapped at the time. We'll come on to him later.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
That name. Geordie Barrett. No, the other one.
Yeah. He was the other uncapped player. Two of them, which is mental.
Rico Ioane was uncapped going into that as well, wasn't he?
Do you know who the injury covers were for the Lions tour for the New Zealand team?
Injury as in who was injured, or
as in like who were the reserves basically? Because they named reserves, but obviously weren't called up to the squad.
Oh, who would they have been? Because Surveyor was in by this point. This was
so you had a midfielder, hooker, and three loose forwards.
Sorry, midfielder,
as in centre, I think. Yeah, centre.
So who'd be around this point? Jack Goodhue.
It was Jack Goodhue.
Jack Goodhue,
good player.
A good player. Born
hooker.
on the same day as me.
Okay.
Which I always got to measure. How I'm doing in my life against Jack Goodhue, in terms of. He had significantly more All Black caps by the age of like 25 than I did.
Yeah.
But right now, you know what? I haven't heard from Jack Goodhue in a while. And I hope he's doing all right. Yeah. Sorry, who's saying front row?
So, hooker. No.
Was this like Nathan Harris era?
No. It was Liam Coltman.
Liam Coltman, solid player. Very solid. What happened to him? Is he in Japan now?
Probably.
Or is it Lyon?
Oh. Doesn't want it.
No, so
and then three loose forwards, so flankers.
Akira Ioane
was one of them.
His brother was in, and then he was on a reserve. He was playing sevens at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Three loose forwards.
One of them we've already mentioned.
Matt Todd.
And this last one will surprise you.
So 2017. So who was there or thereabouts? Kino was still around. Squire was there. You mentioned. obviously Sam Kane.
Yeah.
Fafita was
It was
previous year?
Fafita.
Was it Fafita?
He
Right,
was
okay.
injury cover, but because he went to England not long. I think he went to England the year after this.
Was it that soon? Because I think it was the year before he scored that brilliant try against Argentina.
Let's have a look.
So,
Did
because he kind of came out of nowhere, was brilliant.
He
And
had a
then
really good season
went
at
to Wasps
Wasps.
really early. Yeah.
Really good at Wasps. I really liked him at Wasps. So he went to. Oh no, he went to Wasps in 2021. So he stayed in the Hurricanes. He only played 69 times for the Hurricanes.
Okay.
But considering
Nice.
Super Rugby, you play 4 games a season.
Yeah.
Right, we've got a big...
I appreciate that we have started this like we have nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Like the biggest Ospreys news of potentially the decade hasn't just dropped.
So, yeah. So, I'm James. This is Robbie. Welcome back to the Ospreys Airy Pod. Nothing has changed. So, let's go quickly into news. Well, obviously, the big thing does come under this, so we will go into it. So, former Ospreys scrum half Reese Webb.
Tom Haberfield. Oh, okay.
No, not him.
Can we just do a separate news item on what Tom Haberfield's up to? We have that every week.
He was a teaching assistant last time I checked.
Yeah, I mean, he retired to do his teaching, his TA. And play semi-pro rugby.
Speaking of which, sorry, I go back to New Zealand a second. I was on LinkedIn earlier.
Okay.
And someone either reposted or like commented on Dane Coles put up a "I'm looking for work" post.
Really?
He's like, "I'm back from Japan. Fancy a game?" So, Lance,
just send him an email.
Yeah, just connect with him on LinkedIn. I know you've got premium. Okay, send him a connection.
No, Lance Bradley has massive big LinkedIn guy energy.
No, you see, I follow him on LinkedIn. He doesn't post much more than he does on Twitter. Toby Booth loves a LinkedIn.
Oh, does he?
Not so much posting, but likes, because he does all the motivational stuff. He does all like separate talks, going off pod. But listening to the pod, Tom Reeves, who coaches up at Worcester RFC, I think, or is involved heavily, I think, in the communications at Worcester RFC. He had Toby Booth in recently to do like a talk, and it looked very good. So yeah, Toby Booth, big LinkedIn man. Anyway, so where were we? So Reese Webb, he's been banned for 4 years for testing positive for human growth hormone. So initially, when this news broke however long ago, it was framed as being a abnormality in the test. So when it went away, we were all like, oh, this, might not affect him. It might get cleared. But now we know he's tested positive for human growth hormone, for HGH, which is a very serious offense. He's been banned for 4 years to take part in any form of rugby.
So this includes, like, critically as well, includes coaching, includes administration, depending on the wording, because the wording is obviously in French, could include punditry as well. So we're
not spared much there.
Yeah. But considering he was starting an agency helping coach kids in Bridgend, and he'd looked at coaching, he's unable to do any of that for 4 years. So he's probably going to have to go and find another career. So this has not only effectively ended his playing career, because he's 35, he's soon 35. There's almost no way he's going to hang around 4 years and come back at 39. This has effectively not just ended his playing career, but prevented him starting another career in rugby.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we don't know what he was going to do. As I say, he started a bit of a side business, teaching kids, working with kids. But he's going to have to go off and find another job. Yeah. And it's a monumentally stupid thing for him to have done. He claimed that WU gave him those drugs.
Which is very libelous. I would just like to point out, like,
an insane thing to say.
If you notice, that only happened once, like in one interview, because I guarantee you the lawyers were like, yeah, shut up or I'm going to take your kneecaps.
Yes. And like, I mean, I saw someone speculate, was it the Ospreys that gave it to them instead? You can say almost, for considering supposedly the contract he was offered by Booth at the end of the last season wouldn't have covered paracetamol, never mind performance-enhancing drugs. Like, you probably Probably wasn't. It feels like a decision he's made on the assumption he won't be caught, or maybe it's happened with Spion Kosi, not Spion Kosi, sorry, Afiwa Deyanti.
Yeah.
Few years back, he was given a substance by a doctor and told it wasn't banned, and it was a banned substance. He failed to do his own due diligence and saw himself banned for 3 or 4 years. Ended up missing out on 2 World Cup wins, which he almost definitely would have been part of that 2019 squad if he had
Good
done.
player.
Good player, great player. Squidge Team of the Year member the year he did it. And people sent me death threats over not being Jacob Stockdale, and both of those aged badly. However, like there's chances that situation. I don't know. There's another bit of me that's like, I'm glad we've heard, heard his side. We've heard some bits around it. I was wondering what drugs he'd been taking because it definitely wasn't speed from the look of him the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But
or that pill from Lucy that made you look at a computer.
Yeah. What have he had? Is that what DuPont's been taking?
Yeah, because he wouldn't have given away that pissing interception at Saracens. Yes, I'm still bitter, Reese.
When DuPont turns into an intergalactic USB stick at the end, we find out he's been taking the drug from Lucy.
Yeah.
Good reference.
Right, I remember
no one's thought about the film Lucy.
I saw it in the cinema.
5 years.
Me
too.
It was an experience.
I had a friend in uni who'd do a running bit about that film long after anyone else has forgotten it, and it was just for me.
Well, I've been eating good. Just going on to films very quickly. Is Gladiator 2 trailer obviously come out, which is fantastic. But then, even better, a rom-com starring Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield is coming out on my the day before my birthday, which, quite frankly, is the best birthday present I could ask for.
Absolutely. From the director of Brooklyn as well, which is a beautiful film.
So, brilliant. Do you know the other player being currently investigated for doping in...
who is it?
Chris Vui. Chris Vui.
Chris Vui, really?
So if
Samoa captain or former Samoa captain.
Well, he's not in Bristol's squad list for next year.
Right.
And apparently, because he withdrew from Bristol's squad probably about 2/3 of the way last year. And it was said that he did for personal reasons. And then it came out, I think it might have been Alex Bywater, or it might have been the guy from The Telegraph, who I can't remember the name of. Is it Charlie Felix or something like that? Anyway, reported that he's under investigation for a failed drugs test. Again, we don't know what it is. The investigation will be going on. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he's the other sort of high-profile player under investigation by the anti-doping agency.
Montpellier once again licking their lips.
But Chris Vui he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, but do you wonder if it falls into a Deyanti situation? Right,
yeah, this is the two sides of it, isn't it? And this is what we thought about Webb. But you don't just not take. I'm in my limited GCSE PE qualification here, but I'm pretty sure it's you can't accidentally take human growth hormone. Yeah. So that's been an interesting one. So, should we go into the rumor mill?
Let's.
So I've got a few here that I've been collating.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you all know I think you know all of them. So earlier on in the season, I reported that we were in talks to sign someone from Nottingham. We were under the assumption this was coming from you. We were under the assumption this would be a Uni of Nottingham player, which is what was originally reported to me. Now, this still might be the case, but it has been revealed to me that the player we've been looking at is actually Ryan Oluwafella, former Northampton, Leicester, I think, and Jersey fullback, who is currently at Nottingham, whose brother famously obviously played for the Dragons and was not very good, who then went to the Western Force and was quite good. He's 6'3", relatively pacey, good step on him. Again, this is all speculation.
Former Sevens player as well.
Former England Sevens player. Going on the drugs train, did once get banned for a few months for testing positive for cocaine. as I found out in my research. But
Hooray!
so he's been linked. Obviously, we are lacking depth in the back three. One that
Yeah.
is heavily rumored to be all done is the signing of Daniel Casende, the postman.
Yeah. Well, you wonder if those two are filling the same spot, if it's either or.
Well, Casende seems more likely, as we know, he spent time in the camp last
Yeah.
year where he, fought every Scarlets player known to man. I think it was Ben Williams he actually fought. Yeah, so obviously Casende's been in around the camp. Everything that's come out from that I've heard is that Casende was a big asset to the camp. Obviously, his teammate who was over with us, Manus van der Merwe, reported for preseason training with the Scarlets this week. He's dead to us.
Well, they're back in preseason training.
They're back. Did they
not make the playoffs?
No, they didn't make the playoffs. Surprisingly,
They wouldn't get an extra week.
No,
off.
they didn't get an extra week.
Oh, weird.
Oh, yes, weird that.
I thought with that squad they'd be okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
So it makes sense that Casende, he's late 20s, he's pacey, good in the tackle, good over the ball actually.
Yeah.
Makes sense as a signing. Adds depth to the back three, takes the pressure off Luke Morgan, who is, in athlete terms and for a winger, actually the wrong side of 30.
Yeah. That squad has, as it stands, Keelan Giles, who had a reasonably injury-free season until the chance to play for Wales came up.
Yeah.
And he, that didn't materialise and the injury came through. But in past has had a lot of injury problems. Harry Houston, who's played 4 games maybe for the Ospreys.
And is 12.
And is, 14, looks even younger, sort of Milky Bar kid energy. Picked him an injury mid-season as well. And then Luke Morgan, who, as you say, is the wrong side of 13. You don't want to be relying on to play every single game.
Yeah. So, makes sense. This one is all but done as far as we're aware. Steph Thomas reported on it, which generally means, it's done.
Yeah.
So, for me, it's a good acquisition. We've got the space for the non-Welsh qualified. Obviously, we have the lowest amount. I think we have 2 non-Welsh qualified players.
As it stands, yeah. So it depends on when we get clarification on Nagy.
Yeah, so I'm counting Nagy in it.
But you get 2 time servers plus 5 non-Welsh qualified players.
I think we've gone for Jack Walsh and Nagy will be our time servers.
Yeah. So then Phil Falkensinger.
Yeah.
And I think that's it in terms of non-Welsh qualified players next season.
Phil.
And then Cassandre to come in.
Which brings us on to the next one.
Yeah.
The one that broke Ospreys Twitter. So, Mark Pickering of rugbyjp.com or at rugbyjp.com on X broke the news that the Ospreys have been offered an ex-NRL and Australian Rugby Union player. It was Ospreys were quoted as saying, we'll pass it on to our playing department, but it becomes less desirable if he's not Welsh qualified. Then somehow that transpired that we were signing a man who was mentioned earlier, Ngani Laumape, who is an All Black and an ex-NRL player. We are not signing Ngani Laumape.
But this was a mental thing because it came through on Saturday during during those tests, and there was the initial reaction is like, no, obviously not. Obviously, we're not signing Laumape. And then there's a moment where you're like, well, it's been linked. What if we are? And the logical bit of your brain is like, even if we've spoken to Laumape, he's not. We don't have the money. He's not coming here. He turned down All Black caps because the amount of money Stade Francais offered him was like life-changing for someone from his background. So he took it, he went there, he then went to Japan. He could go back to New Zealand at any point and win All Blacks caps, or he can take the biggest paycheck. And he's currently been choosing to look after his family, look after, any future family, and set himself up for life, essentially, as best he can through earning money to still play at a very high level in good environments and good squads. He will get a good environment and a good squad at the Ospreys. He will not, no matter what, be earning the kind of money he could be in Japan or at Stade Francais. However, that said, why not?
He's got a big like Julian Sarve, Moana Pacifica in like 2 years vibes.
Yeah,
which I for one welcome. Robbie and I do know the player who we are linked to sign, and the player is a good.
I would say good player. I would say good player.
I thoroughly enjoyed watching him play. And look, the deal, if there's any, is in very early infancy. I'm waiting to hear from Mark in Japan to sort of see what the lay of the land is over the next couple of days. But this one is a very pie in the sky.
It is someone who would be a significant signing, one of the biggest signs of the era. However, at the same time, it's not Lamarpe. It's not Lamarpe size. And it's also, I would be very surprised if the person has Welsh qualification.
If he does, I will eat my hat.
Yes.
Because
find a hat, wear it, and then proceed to, much like Werner Herzog in his shoe, eat it.
Yeah. If he has a nan from like Anglesey.
Yeah. That's why he's offered himself for the Ospreys. He's always wanted to go back to Mumbles, where his granddad's from.
Okay. So I think, is that all of them? There is also a rumor, again, this is very unfounded. I have contacted sources, is that we were signing a back from Bath. The likely candidate would be Max Wright, because I'm pretty sure he's the only Bath back who's been released, who's not either found a club or is retired.
Yeah.
Max Wright, 27-year-old, played England under 20s around that 2016, 2017 time. So was in a good England squad. I think it was with like Prothero, and he's a bit young. It might be a bit older than that. Anyway, that's only a rumor. There is nothing in that. It's just something that's been passed across to me.
Well, we also have at Bristol as well. The Joe Jenkins. Centre at Bristol, which has gone complete.
Joe Jenkins, 6'3" Welsh centre.
No, James Williams. Sorry, James Williams.
Oh, of course, yeah. Sorry, Joe Jenkins is the one Josh Gardner recommended to me.
Yes,
who I do like.
James Williams, who is 27, Welsh qualified centre, was floating around in the Championship for quite a long time. Then got picked up by Sale, played 2 games, and Bristol at the look of him, and he's been there for 2 seasons.
He's been
which time
really
he has played
good.
A reasonable amount. Yeah. He's played 40 games for Bristol, been pretty good. Apparently, he's being assessed by multiple Welsh regions. Is a goal kicking 12 primarily.
Sent you the highlights.
Yeah,
they were good highlights,
and could be an option. Could be a budget option to come in.
Yeah, I think it'd be a very smart option. It's low risk. He's a good goal kicker. He's got good hands. Takes the ball to the line. He does reek, if we sign him, of Johnny Williams like 2.0 to me.
I mean, you had me up until there.
Yeah.
But it feels, of all the rumours floating around, like the most Toby Booth signing.
Yeah. I mean, of course, the other rumour is that we're signing Liam Williams, or with the favourites to sign Liam Williams, which I can't remember if we talked about on air. Or we did, and then I think the story came up again. So we are favourites to sign Liam Williams, which actually, after watching him against South Africa, bring it on.
Yeah, well, look, is it going to be a waste of money? Potentially. But if we want to kick on and be a team that wins things and competes at the highest level, we need players who are used to doing that. And at the minute, this squad, the only players that do that are Justin Tipperick, who is, obviously getting on in years and can't necessarily play every game, and then Jack Morgan and Dewi Lake, who are quite new to that, still adapting to that. So you want more players and more kind of, and Adam Beard, of course.
Yeah.
But the more players you have, especially in the spine of the team positions, and having some in the back line will really help in terms of being able to kick on. So just having a 10 or a 15 who is played consistently international rugby at the highest levels, played in big World Cup games, played in Lions tours, will be significant for this team's growth.
I just love watching him play.
Yeah.
I watched back that 2018 Champions Cup final where he made that insane tackle and turnover.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I mean, it's completely illegal, but was one of my favorite turnovers ever. Just brilliant. Just honestly, and after watching him against South Africa and playing in bits against Australia, maybe, was very good. So I think that's everything on the rumour mill. Quite a heavy rumour mill because we are the region left to make the most signings, I think.
Right, you feel like there's a lot that's probably close to being done.
I mean,
as Booth said, that they still hadn't finished recruitment when they finished last season. We had the longest season of anyone else because none of the Welsh regions made the playoffs, did they?
Do we mention that?
That's weird. Surprising that.
Even though Cardiff have got a generational group of players.
They've stored so much pride there, didn't they?
So many circles.
So proud.
So proud.
But the squad will presumably, they're maybe at most 2 or 3 weeks away from being back in.
Well, the next week. I think they're next week back in.
Yeah. So they're getting close, and we'll presumably start to see some faces drop in, and Booth presumably is now full force into prepping that squad, getting that ready, and getting those over the line. So I presume we'll start to hear things very soon, because otherwise people will be rocking up to training, and similar to happened, a few signings in the past, they get reported that they've turned up in training before we announce they've signed them.
Obviously, he's in the last year of his contract as well.
Booth, yeah. Well, this is something I think we'll get onto. There's a lot of potential turnover in the next year or so. However, the year after, there are still reasons to be excited. I think another rumour mill has finally closed.
There's lots of reasons to be excited. So, after months of speculation, we can now have final confirmation about where the Ospreys are going to move. So the Ospreys have announced Ospreys are delighted to announce that St Helens Sports Ground in Swansea has been selected as the club's preferred location for its new stadium from the 2025 to 2026 season onwards. Following extensive search, it was announced in May that the options have been narrowed down to St Helens and the Dunraven Brewery Field in Bridgend. We'd like to place on record our thanks to both Bridgend Ravens and Bridgend County Council for their outstanding support during our search. I think before we go into semantics, let's talk how good Bridgend have been in all this. They released a really classy statement. It was clearly, I think, always favoured to be St Helens, and I'm on record saying that. But the merits around Brewery Field couldn't be ignored. And what it has done for the Ospreys and, what it has provided for us over the last few years. Cannot be ignored. Go on.
I hope that we do continue to play some games at the Brewery Field, even though we will have a stadium where we are the primary tenants and can be staying there, playing there permanently. Continue to move some games out and play them around the region, and play them particularly at a ground, you say, that's been so good and produced now 2 quite famous Ospreys days in one season. Hopefully we continue to see more there, and hopefully they do take some games around, give it a bit of a party. Obviously, grounds like the Knoll might not be up for it, but grounds like the Brewfield, we can play there, and it'd be great to do so.
And so big props to them. Obviously, Scott Baldwin down there now as head coach. Nipper as attack coach down there. Andy Howells, presumably camping outside his house. I hope we work very closely with them. And wish them all the best in the SRC season. And if you want to keep up with Super Rugby Cymru next year, then be sure to check out the SRC pod. That will be sort of launching relatively soon. So let's go into details. So the move to St Helens not only keeps us close to the majority of our supporter and sponsor bases, but also allows us to work with the City and County of Swansea Council to inject new life into the famous St Helens Sports Ground. Wales played their first ever international rugby match there in 1882. I think Alun Jones started that one with Mevin Davis. Multi-million-pound investment on the site will see the installation of a new 4G pitch, new stands, a refurbishment of the clubhouse, an introduction of a new fan zone area with the aim to provide an unrivaled matchday experience and develop new opportunities for non-matchday events and revenue. Swansea RFC and Swansea University will continue to play, and it's our ambition for the ground to host an increased number of community games. Swansea Cricket Club have been fully engaged in discussions about the redevelopment of the site, and an announcement about where they will play their games in the future will be made in due course.
Which Robert Croft is very upset about.
Yeah,
and he's a Scarlets fan, so
he's a Scarlets fan, and also Glamorgan haven't played there in years, or haven't played there consistently in years.
Yeah,
Glamorgan chose to go to Sophia Gardens, and it's not a thing. Swansea Cricket Club, look, it's St Helens and the council have to do what's right for what they feel is right for the city and county of Swansea, right? And they feel that having the Ospreys, Swansea RFC, and Swansea University RFC as primary tenants will be that change. Look, I've been going to St Helens for a few years when I was in university. I lived one street away. I would watch the likes of Nagy, Sutton every week. It's a special place. And then I was at that Barbars Alun Jones game last year. And you could see the potential there. So I think it's the right, obviously we know it's the right move.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that will have to come at the expense of Swansea Cricket Club. And I really hope that they are well reimbursed, and I hope that they find a site that allows them to thrive, as a cricket club. So I think the main thing is, are you excited, Robbie?
No, I am. I very much am. I think this has been something that has been talked about for a very long time. And I think the opportunities it opens up, the future it begins to guarantee for the club, and the routes that it can, potentially take us and expand are really, really exciting. I greatly enjoyed the one of the two games in Bridgend I got to. I'm sure you're the same. For having that being a smaller venue. And we saw that the same at Saracens last year and at Gloucester this year, where huge numbers of fans made noise and generated noise in a smaller ground, right? And the same thing happened in those two games in Bridgend, where they were able to carry that. And it was like, when we spoke to a friend of the pod, Jamal Ford Robertson, after the game, saying it was maybe the loudest set of away fans he's come across at Kingsholm. And yet that gets lost. What a great set of fans we have and have been gets lost in that bigger stadium. Yeah. And being able to transfer that over, and just the thought of being able to go to a place where, as people care about the Ospreys and want them to win games and, love watching them and really like this particular Ospreys team, having a place where it's packed in with people that love that is really exciting, just as a notion of being there, as was the case in Bridgend, and being able to step this up and it being in a good location. You look at those shots the Ospreys posted of it with the beach in the background. It is a beautiful location. It's within walking distance of the city centre, which, when I went to the Munster game a few weeks ago, walking around town on the day beforehand and not seeing a shirt in sight, and going in, and I bought a shirt in the Rugby Heaven in Swansea. Yeah. And, one of the guys on the desk asked if I was going to the game tonight, and the other one said he didn't know the game on. And hopefully this allows you to change that, and to just be shirts around and people in the lead up. And it's only, 10, 15 minute or 15, 20 minute walk back to the centre of Swansea. Yep. You can have people going out before and after games, and it's not an absolute nightmare to be, having to walk 45 minutes an hour to get there or take the bus. I think from every possible angle, this is a good thing. There is still the thing that came up when they first talked about moving away from the Liberty, where it is weirdly in the contract between Swansea Council and the two tenants in, the Swans and the Ospreys, that rugby and football must be played there every year. So there's still a chance of taking the odd game, probably most likely the Scarlets game back to the Swansea.com.
I don't think that'll be an issue. There's not been football played at St Helens for years and years and years. That won't be an issue.
Is it? Sorry, at the Swansea.com.
Yeah, Swansea.com. So
yeah. But so I think there's still a chance of this, the old game at the Swansea.com, which would give us a best of both worlds situation, because having the smaller ground is something that they need, and being able to develop, as I said, this ground with its history was the first international being played there. The women's team played, I think that there was maybe the second game there as well. So yeah, it's having those kind of that history and those chances is potentially really exciting.
Yeah, and we talked about on Rap on Monday was, I don't think you realize the impact that this can have on a community as well. Yeah. So for years, especially when I was growing up, is that when you play your equivalent to like Do a Shield or whatever, or your under 15s cups, and that you get to the final, and where do they play it in Cardiff? They play it at Cap. Where do they play it? Scarlets. They play at the Park Scarlets. Same with Dragons in Newport. With us, you play it at Clandarcy because the Swans won't let you play at the Liberty.
Yeah.
So having these kids the chance to go play their games, their tag festivals, their walk-in rugby festivals, at St Helens, is just the ability to play a volume of games, right? Is so huge. And I think when people think of 4G pitches, I still think we're stuck in like the late 2010s.
Yeah.
In that 4G pitches now are very, very good. Like the one up in Gloucester, really good. If they're maintained and looked after properly, they're beneficial.
And it is kind of a necessity. It's something Lance Bradley talks about in the interview on the YouTube channel, that this allows them, by having a 4G pitch, to have 5 or 6 games a week on that pitch, right? So the Ospreys men, the current team that exists, but then also they're hoping, and he states a few times in there, the Ospreys women's program to be up and running soon, which is really exciting as well as a prospect. But if you've got both of them playing on a weekend, you've then got Swansea Uni playing, you've then got Swansea RFC also playing on a weekend. You then throw in minis tournaments, you throw in the age grade side, you've got somewhere to play that's a permanent home, having to bounce between Clandarcy and other grounds around the region. And then beyond that, the match in Swansea that has, and the Ospreys region in general, over the last 5 years, at least post-COVID, that has generated the most hype and enthusiasm and excitement was that Barbar Southern Jones tribute match.
Yep.
And there is more possibility to hold games like that. You speak about the community. The Ospreys can arrange, novelty fixtures. You look at Quins are a brilliant example of this, as they own their ground. It's a brilliant ground in the centre of London, right next to one of the most famous, or not, the west of London, but right next to one of the most famous stadiums in the world. And you look at the sheer number of community and charity games that Quins host, including, us against the Sharks and the URC. That's a really good model to be looking at. Gloucester do the same as well. Lance Bradley has his links there. So that's something that's plenty exciting. You look at, Quins holding, pride games and holding charity matches and holding all sorts. And they're open to, you can hire the stoop and play games there and all sorts. And that sort of thing, having that in the community and being able to bring rugby into that and have a place that you can aspire to play rugby, and also go and watch and it not be a nightmare to get to, and have the atmosphere and feel with it. And, Lance Bradley talking as well about wanting it to be a community hub and I want to use local businesses for food vendors and for, right down to parking and so on. Again, all of it's really exciting because it's what this team that Booth has built on the pitch feels like and feels like it should be. And this feels like one of the final pieces of the puzzle slotting in is this stadium that allows it to connect with a crowd and connect with a community in the way this team feels like they represent the people.
I mean, the women's team in particular is something that excites me, and I think excites a lot of, I think, especially the circle that we dwell in of Ospreys fans, which I won't lie is 4 of us. Is me, you, Josh, and Yestin.
Yeah.
is, if I get to see Hannah Marshall pulling the strings in an Ospreys jersey for years to come, I will be a very happy man.
Not as happy as her dad will be.
She is a baller.
Oh yeah, I mean the assist she gave at the weekend for the was 20s, phenomenal. But there is this, like women's rugby is the fastest growing area in rugby. The Ospreys produced, back when that program existed, a disproportionate amount of this current Wales women's team. Similar to, the men a generation ago. And indeed the men going forward should be bloody Gatland. Whoa, what are you going to say? Whoa. Well, the other regions, at least they made it into playoffs, though, didn't they? So, justifies the selection.
Yeah, bloody regions.
But there is a real want and desire for that team in Wales that plays at a high level. The Celtic Challenge is growing and building in that. And it would be really exciting. I really want this to happen. I was kind of saying to my partner the other day, like, if this comes in, that's it. Like, I am there every weekend watching the two back to back.
We're moving to Wales.
Sorry, we're off to Swansea. But yeah, like, I wouldn't be able to keep myself away. The thought of an Ospreys double header where we've got like Natalia John and Hugh Sutton in a weekend. What can you ask for?
I get to see Georgia Iono and Harry Deves. This is my best weekend.
I stand by Natalia John is one of the most like Toby Booth type players I've seen, and yet she's stuck. She's unable to play for the side. It's ridiculous.
Mental, absolutely mental. So overall, I think they're in terms of, if you go look at the very rough first impressions, they are artists' impressions. I would just like to point out to a certain demographic of fans on Twitter.
No, I will say, right, if you zoom in, there's one that's got team lineups, and we seem to have signed a 2011 era Toby Faletau.
Yeah,
because the team in black has like one guy who looks like an old Toby Faletau with the afro.
Or my predictions come true from the under 26 nations, and we've signed Jordan Morris.
Oh,
yeah. Or we've signed early Ardy Surveyor.
Yeah, I'm looking through this and going like, oh, that one could be Lamarpe.
Yeah,
definitely.
We've signed Ratiki Samo.
Peak Radiki Samo
for that
one job, I reckon.
For that one handoff. Okay, so to celebrate St Helens being announced, we went to go on.
No, I just wanted to add on it as well, right? Because I think, as you mentioned, right, out of contract at the end of the season coming up, we have Toby Booth, we have Morgan Morris, we have Justin Tipperick, we have Derry Lake, and we have Jack Morgan, right? Those are arguably the 5 most important players to this team, and the coach who's probably at the heart of it.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think this could have come along at a more important time.
Yeah.
Because we suddenly have this hub coming in for these players to come and play in and be, as you say, at the heart of the community, experience that new kind of match day vibe, the whole of it kind of changing, everything being refurbished. This thing that, supposedly the move to Bridgend was the player's choice. It was the player's decision at the European knockout game. Was they wanted that. They wanted to play in a tighter environment with the crowd more on top of them, right? I think genuinely the thought of wanting to play at St Helens may help us secure those players, those 5 players staying. I think that may be something that swings it, and going, well, we've played in this empty stadium. Now we can play in this vibes up stadium. And also Nicky Smith coming back, which we all know is happening. Yeah. But I think that's really exciting. And I think it would be, if I were in any of their shoes, that would be swaying me towards staying. Not wanting to lose that opportunity to play in this ground at the heart of the community I grew up in.
I wholeheartedly agree. I absolutely agree. So, in tribute to that, we have gone into the archives to look at good player games in which we can use. So the options were, we talked about that Harlequins Anglo-Welsh one in 2016. Which I was at. I'm pretty sure Adam Jones played in that game.
The last time we played at St Helens?
Yeah. The last time was in COVID against Benetton, where we beat them
of course.
with the Gareth Evans red card.
Yeah.
Sean Venter trying a last minute Dewi Lake try, who was on the bench that day. But we decided to go for Neath /Swansea Ospreys versus Munster in 2003.
The first game the Ospreys ever played at St Helens.
So, for some reason, Munster have not given their this team sheet. They've not given their players, not given players. Sorry, they've not given them numbers. I mean, I can guess.
Yeah,
like I'm not thick, but thanks, guys. So, do you want to go through Munster? I feel like we're going to know less Munster. I know more Munster players than I thought.
Yeah. No, I know most of this Munster team. There is one name that's very amusing to me.
Oh, I think I know which one, but I'll let you go. Right,
it's Owen Redden.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so I think this is a fullback. So we got Jeremy Staunton.
Jeremy Staunton, good player.
Yeah.
No, he is a peak pinnacle good player. He was, really solid.
Who was coaching Munster at this point?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably man. Jeremy Staunton is now a maths teacher in Dublin.
In Dublin?
He's a traitor. But was a proper Munster player. Had a few years at Leicester Tigers as well, but was brilliant for them. Was long term there. Was great. Proper out and out fullback. Love the drop goal. Big fan of Jeremy Staunton. They
were coached by Alan Gaffney, the Australian man.
Well, of course they were.
Yeah. Because they can't be coached by someone from Limerick, can they? Sorry. At wing, Mossy Lawler, one of the greatest names in rugby.
Yeah, very little memory of. Apparently went on to play for Wasps, played 3 games for Wasps after 67 for Munster.
Good innings.
Played the Heineken Cup winning season, played in the famous miracle match against Gloucester.
Then we move on to Mike Mullins.
Oh, he's now skills coach at Munster.
He is now skills coach. He's a Kiwi man.
This is fine content. Mike Mullins type.
He's a Kiwi man whose mother is of Irish Maori descent. His father was a Limerick man, so he was eligible for Ireland.
Okay.
He had 16 caps for Ireland, and I think they were all against the likes of Romania. That says it all, I think. Jason Jones-Hughes.
Yeah, this is the surprise in the Munster team for me. Wales international Jason Jones-Hughes, who I remember fondly from my time playing Rugby 04.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm looking at a copy of Rugby 04 right now.
You poor sausage. Johnny Wilkinson on the cover.
Yeah.
John Inverdale's commentary, and he goes, Jones-Hughes breaks the tackle. It was great.
So he must not have played after this. What? Did he retire due to injury?
Seemingly.
Yeah, he did. He was forced to retire after a lower back injury.
Ooh.
So he played for. He's a Newport man.
Well, he's Australian.
He's Australian.
Welsh qualified.
Welsh qualified.
He came through Randwick, which is obviously Eddie Jones, and a bunch of other coaches. It's famous for producing coaches rather than players.
But he was at the Waratahs when Eddie would have been there. Then was at Newport, played 51 times in Newport, scoring 75 points, so good return. And then only played 9 games for Munster before being forced to retire.
I will add it was the Brumbies that Eddie Jones coached.
Oh, Brumbies, sorry.
At that time. As a Eddie Jones completest, too much of my brain is that man's entire history. I wish I could think about other things. Jason Jones-Hughes of Rugby 04 fame.
So we've now go into Sean Payne, not the Labour politician, who is a South African-born Irish qualified rugby union player. Because of course he is.
Yeah, that sounds so much like a South African-born Irish qualified rugby player.
But he is #one of us because he played 22 games for Swansea.
Oh, at St Helens.
At St Helens. Hell yeah.
Was called up by Ireland in 2005, but didn't play for them.
I remember him. He played 109 games for Munster. He was a good player. I'm going to put him in good player. Conrad O'Sullivan, the most Irish man. That's a Father Ted character. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Conrad O'Sullivan.
Father Conrad O'Sullivan.
He wore scrum cap and he wore gloves.
Right. That era. Fly off. I know nothing of this man.
From Cork. Only played 7 times for Munster.
Ooh.
Though O'Sullivan was injured, so this was his senior competitive debut.
Oh.
Turns out, well, it didn't go too well for you, did it? Sorry, Conrad. Then we move into Owen Reddin.
Good player.
Good player. Went on for so long.
Yeah.
He was very young. How many times did he play for Munster? Only 29 times for Munster.
Yeah, well, he went to Wasp for a long time. He then went back to Leinster.
Yeah. Well, he was a Connacht boy. This is the thing.
Right.
He started off at Connacht in 2001. 71 caps for Ireland.
Really bounced around.
Yeah. What's in the personal life? There's nothing good in the personal life. It's just where he got married. Come on. Right. Simon Kerr.
Australian. Again, a lot of Australians in this team.
They're not helping themselves, are they?
There's a lot of Australians who retired before I watched rugby in this Munster team.
He went to Wagga Agricultural College. I wonder who came through Wagga Agricultural College. We're doing this again. Where is
Nathan Hines is from Wagga.
Isn't one of the old Ospreys players from Wagga as well?
Jack Walsh?
No, he's Manly, I think.
Manly. Oh, that checks out.
Notable people. Here we go. Andrew Denton.
Oh, massive name. Yeah. We all know Andrew Denton.
Amanda Keller.
Yeah. Oh, man. How can we forget Amanda Keller?
Here we go. Craig Stephen Wright, who has falsely claimed himself to be the inventor of Bitcoin. They went to Wagga Agricultural University. So
did he really though, or did he falsify?
No, he didn't. He falsified it. Oh, that's brilliant. That's fantastic. Okay, so I do. We got about Simon Kerr.
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay, Jerry Flannery.
Good player, great coach as well. Now,
fantastic, great arms. Just a good play. Played in my favorite Irish jersey. Was that one with the sort of white
piping?
The white piping underneath the arms. Yeah. Oh, line-out coach now.
Defense coach, the Springboks now.
Defense coach, yeah. Was also strength and conditioning coach at Arsenal, the football club. Did he play for the Lions?
He made the squad and he got injured.
Didn't he?
Got injured before it. But I think a few days after the squad was named.
Yeah. He had an elbow injury, yeah. It was obviously
Ross Ford toured instead.
Shout out Josh Gardner. Martin Cahill
was a rugby player.
Yeah, I'm assuming. I'm not even going to search him up.
No.
Eddie Halvley.
Presumably a rugby player. I know nothing of this man.
Could be an NFT.
But I'm excited for the next name.
What? David Pusey?
David Pusey, which no one read as Pusey first time.
No, he must have had an awful time in school. Do you want to hazard a guess where he was from?
Australia?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, he was.
David Pusey.
He was from Australia.
He's now a commercial helicopter pilot. He had to become the toughest bastard, didn't he? He's he's basically called David Pussy. And he decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be an international standard flank forward. I became a man from the 70s there. I just said flank forward. And
I was supposed to go full Bill McLaren and call him like a hike man.
Yes, a wing forward. I'm going to become an international number 8, and I'm going to learn to fly helicopters just in case. Oh, man. What a career.
He did not have a good time in school, did he? Dennis Leamy, here we go.
Good player.
Dennis
Great player.
Leamy was a great player.
Great player.
Again, I think retired. He's about the same age as Owen Redding. He occasionally played at centre.
Yes. Yeah. Versatile.
Which is weird. Where
Then
is he now? He's in Munster, isn't he? He is
coaching,
so
yeah.
Yeah, he's at Munster. Good player. Yeah, just a really good player. Like, especially who he's alongside here, which is David Wallace, rugby union player, not David Wallace Lockhart. Thank you.
Yeah, he's defence coach at Munster.
So David Wallace, right? Great. I think
Test Lion,
rightly or wrongly.
Yes.
Because
that's the debate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nugget
existed. And this is what, because he toured in 2001 and toured in 2009, didn't tour in 2005, obviously. The thing is, Nugget was so good in 2009.
Yeah.
And I you've probably listened to it. Blood and Mud did the 2009 Lions tour with Paul Williams, right? And I went back and watched it, and you can see why Geach even picked him. It's because he was a carrier.
Yeah.
But why on earth would you not?
Well, I remember it being the headline the week that team was named. I remember being of that age and at that point where I was just religiously over that school holiday, refreshing the BBC website, because it's pre-Twitter, waiting for the team to go up, waiting to see the team. And then it's saying, like, Wallace starts for 7 over Martin Williams, the one position we were waiting to see what comes in. And that being the big call. And Gatland saying it was because of his physicality, because he wanted that to counter the box.
Do you want to know what he's done since retiring?
What's he doing? What's he up to?
He opened a sweet shop in Limerick.
No.
And then joined the Bank of Ireland as a business development manager for the region.
Wow. Is he the only sweet shop owner that isn't tax dodging or money laundering?
Don't know, but it's given me great pleasure to like picture David Wallace selling Prime.
I can just imagine him trying to be like Willy Wonka-ish and hand out sweets to children and terrifying them.
I'm now imagining him doing the dance in Wonka with Timothée Chalamet instead of Phil Wang. Which is still, I
think he'd nail it.
The most odd choice.
It's very Paul King, though, isn't it? You know, he loves his B-tier British actors, British like comedians.
That's he had all of Ghosts in there, didn't he?
Yeah, it's where he came from. It's his house, you know. His house is those guys.
So right. Then we move into the club captain of this year, actually.
Yeah.
And number 8, Jim Williams.
Good player.
Have a guess where he's from.
Grumblesphere.
New South Wales in Australia. Yeah. He was old at this point. He was born in 1968. So he was old at this point. He moved to England in 1994, and I genuinely think I can give you 100 guesses and you couldn't guess who he played for.
Wait, what year? Sorry?
1994.
1994. Nottingham.
Nope.
Rotherham.
Nope.
Harlequins.
Nope.
Richmond.
No, I'm going to put you on your misery. It was West Hartlepool.
West Hartlepool. Oh, man. No, they were a Prem team back in the day. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
But good player.
Good player. Just speed around the bench. But I do find it interesting. So David Pussy's let's go with it. David Pussy's Wikipedia page says his spouse is just Jodie. And on the bench is Jodie Danaher. So maybe that's it.
Hey,
maybe those two are
no one is judging.
No, I think it's what men's rugby needs more of. Right? Like, we have plenty of it in women's rugby. Like, I've always thought, when I'm trying to pitch people, you know, supporting this Welsh women's team, like, imagine if Shane Williams and Dan Lydiate are in a loving relationship and adopted dogs. Like, that is Jazz Joyce and Alicia Butchers.
Well,
like, would you not want that?
We discussed this today. But there was World Rugby had an interview years ago with Tyler Ardron and Jeff Hassler,
Yeah.
right, where they talked about like, their junior rugby World Rugby Trophy when that was still a thing, and like living together in the housing complex opposite the stadium, and it was genuinely like if you've ever watched Handsome Devil, but like a really mentally healthy version of that. Or did you watch that rugby film that came out? Is it last year or the year before? It was about the gay rugby team and the two guys in that.
Yes, yeah, In from the Side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where it was me, my partner, and one other person in the cinema to see it in review in Swansea.
Oh, it was weirdly packed at the Broadway in Nottingham.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people in.
A great film, enjoyed it. But yeah, we need more of that. Right,
Yeah.
the bench. Trevor Hogan, I recognise.
Trevor Hogan, yeah, solid player.
Obviously,
Stephen Keogh, Mike Prendergast.
Mike Prendergast, obviously.
Dominic
Genius.
Crossley, presumably the glue that holds the
I was about to make the same joke when I saw the name.
They needed it because they had Martin McPhail next to him on the bench. Who I presume was like, it was like a hidden camera show where he'd walk in and break the bench or something.
I'm sorry. Martin McPhail is a Horrible Histories character where he's like a goofy IRA officer who, fails to do things. He's Martin McPhail.
Classic Marty. Good old Marty McPhail.
Okay, so let's go into the Ospreys squad.
Let's do it.
So there were two names that stuck out this if you ask anyone about this game, the two players that stick out are Gav and Andy Williams. So let's start with Gav. He was at 15 for this game. This was peak silver boots, blonde highlights Gav.
Well, he's described by Munster in the match report as unwanted Wales fullback Gavin Henson, which unwanted, I suppose, at the time by Charlotte Church. They weren't together yet. But this is the beginning of Gav. This is 21 years old, man of the match. Even the Munster team report has a whole paragraph on how good he was.
Yep.
Like, that's the tier of Gavin Henson performance we're talking about here. Everything else in the report is about Munster's performance, except for one whole paragraph. The longest paragraph in the report is just about how good Gavin Henson was.
Obviously, it was a Bridgend boy, but played for Swansea. 98 caps for Ospreys, 57 for Swansea. Just wow, what a man.
So 33-26 to the Ospreys full time, with Henson kicking 4 penalties, 3 conversions, 2 assists.
Yeah. Just a maverick.
Yeah.
And if you want to learn more about Gav, follow Luke Upton on Twitter.
I think it's one of the great delights of doing this play and this game in particular is every now and again we get to talk about Gavin Henson, who is a brilliant pocket of Welsh rugby history that's kind of being slowly forgotten in a way he shouldn't be. I love Gavin Henson. I want more Gavin Henson. We need to celebrate Gavin Henson because he's one of the Ospreys' greats.
My favourite Gavin Henson fact that I learned just now is that he was slated to play for the Probables squad in 2014, but was unable to take part due to the PRB saying he's not allowed. So I was there that day.
Wow.
What's your favourite era of Gav?
Oh, there's a question. Well, because the obvious one's 2005, right? But I've got a soft spot for 2008 with the kind of longer, like, grab hair and just faultless play, just brilliance the whole way. But also that brief comeback when he was good, when he came back, worked, and then got kicked out by 2 clubs in a row, and you're like, right, okay, this isn't gonna go cleanly.
See, mine was Bath.
Ooh.
But do you remember the Bath versus Breve game?
No.
Where he was unreal. Oh, find it. It's Gavin Henson versus Breve, I'm pretty sure, for Bath. And he was electric.
I'm sticking 2008. I'm going final answer, favourite era of Gavin Henson.
I do remember when he signed for Cardiff Blues and he played against us at the Liberty, he put up an under and everyone was booing him, and then he caught it, and everyone was like, "Oh," and then cheered because it's Gav.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on from there, Dave Tuetti, try scorer. His son is now at Coventry.
Oh,
which
cool.
so his son David Tuetti, so was born in Wales, was at Cardiff Met, I'm pretty sure. Was at Nottingham, but now is signed for his father's old club of Coventry. I would kind of wanted to sign him because he's quite good, I think. James Story in at 13.
What's the James Story?
Yeah.
Morning Glory, as we all called him at the time.
Balamory.
Yeah, we were still close enough to, Oasis were still together, possibly.
They were.
And that was what was important at the time, was James Story. That album is actually written about James Story. Not many people know that.
I cannot find anything on James Story.
Well, you should watch the movie they made about him, The Never-Ending James Story. It's one of the best ones. There's a line he runs in this game actually that inspired David Lynch. He scores a try in this game. Actually inspired David Lynch to make the Straight Story, the straight line he runs. Also him just denying he isn't gay.
Well, of course, you've also got at 12 Scott Gibbs,
my captain.
Yeah. 16 times to the Ospreys, scored 3 tries. 5 appearances for the Lions, played rugby league. Just what a man.
What a man. What a player. The first Ospreys captain.
First ever Ospreys captain. He now lives in Cape Town, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. He always used to pop up on Scrum 5 every Christmas when he was back home.
Yeah. Elvis Ciarlili.
Still amazing. We've had 2 players called Elvis.
Yeah.
Over the Ospreys 20 years.
Just a great player.
Yeah.
Great servant. Good at London Irish. Ended his career at Revigo, which I always, anyone who plays for Revigo. In 2018, apparently he became the head coach for California women's rugby.
Oh, wow. I hope he's doing a magnificent job there.
If he's still there, what a great little setup that seems to be.
Yeah.
Sean Connor, good player.
Good player. Now, backs coach of Wales Women, where he is technically doing a job. Was doing a perfectly good job as a skills coach at the Dragons and then with Wales Women. And I would say I've been promoted, and it's changed my thoughts on it. But good player, like great kicking fly half in the day.
100 Centurion, obviously.
Play for the Dragons as well.
Yeah,
which is where I kind of watched most of him.
Was the fly half against Australia?
Yes.
Never had a full senior cap though. He was on the standby list alongside Jason Strange. In 2006.
Good player.
Andy Williams, who's obviously amazing in this game.
Good player.
Now, speaking of like nines who not everyone remembers, do you remember we talked at length about Darren Allinson?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you see what he got announced as this week? Sneakily.
Is he like Minister for State?
No.
Is he like he's in this Labour government?
He is Cardiff's new head of recruitment.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can he keep recruiting himself?
So if you ever sign Tarty backs, you know who it is. Andy Williams, 5 caps for Wales. Big journeyman rating, though.
Went off to play in Italy, didn't they? Because they'd always get him in on Scrum 5 for the Italian correspondent.
He's not down as playing for an Italian team here.
Do you not?
No.
Am I mixing him up with someone else?
You should not like Tito Tabaldi.
No, though. If it wasn't him, it might have been Andy Moore. Actually, I'm thinking
could have been Andy Moore. So he played for Bath, Ospreys, Bath again, Dragons, Moseley, and then Gloucester and Worcester, but never actually played. So I don't know if you can count that in the journeyman ratings.
I think you can.
Okay, we will. Into the pack then at 8, Nathan Bonner Evans. Good player.
Another one I remember fondly from Rugby 04. Bonner Evans.
Yeah, the weird AI before AI existed.
Yeah.
His Twitter bio is ex-professional rugby player, red wine and chocolate enthusiast.
Fair play. He's doing it right.
Yeah. Played for Wales A.
Hmm.
Obviously was at Sale then. I think he was well liked at Sale. I think they really did like him at Sale. James Bater and Gavin Thomas make up the flankers. I don't remember either of them.
Gavin Thomas, good player.
Was he good?
Gavin Thomas, I was a big fan of Gavin Thomas during his Dragons era, where he put on weight, kind of fell out of favor completely. You know, he had a handful of caps while in his younger days. Signed for the Dragons and was great. He was one of these players. He popped up every now and again and make like unbelievable turnovers and contributes nothing else.
24 caps.
Yeah. Made no tackles, no turnovers. No tackles, no carry, nothing else. Which is every now and pop up again and make a brilliant turnover. Got a recall for Wales in 2010 when Sam Warburton got injured and Martin Williams was also out of the picture, also injured. So they called him up, and he finished his Wales career in the most heroic way possible, where he...
Oh, I remember this.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm reading it now.
He... So I think young All Blacks lock, winning, I think, like his third cap, Sam Whitelock cleared him out illegally, and he just punched him in the face. And Whitelock got a yellow and he got a red.
It wasn't even a clear-out. He was being illegally held at a mall.
And he punched Sam Whitelock in the face and was never seen from again. And that is the greatest way to make your mark and say goodbye, I think, if you're like a nails hard seven who's basically given up. Yeah.
I rate that. So then you had Luke Tate and Andy Newman.
Solid names. I know more than I know them as players.
Wasn't Luke Tate Canadian?
I was going to say that there was a Canadian Luke Tate.
Is he not him? Yes,
Probably
it is.
Yes, he is.
It is. He played one game for Cardiff.
Hassler, Ardron,
He
Phil
is
Mack.
the original Phil Mack, yeah.
Yeah, went to the 2007 World Cup with Canada.
One of the best Canada kits ever.
One game for Cardiff, 24 for the Ospreys.
He played for Overmach Palmer. Oh, which was, I assume, was like pre-Zebra?
Yeah.
Must be.
What Viadana were the go-to.
Strangely, there's no one at tight head. Because I refuse to acknowledge his existence. It was Andrew Millwood. It was Bully. Good servant for the Ospreys. Terrible administrator. Barry Williams.
Good player. A classic of this era.
Yeah, this is. If you had to tell me, like, or sum up the Ospreys from this era, it would be Barry Williams. He's
up there with Billy 12 trees as players who sound the most like their name. Who, if you'd imagine a rugby player called Barry Williams, you'd exactly imagine Barry Williams as he was.
Of course, went on the 97 Lions tour. Just straight up.
And joined by a man who should have gone on the Lions tour, and I was annoyed about this at the time.
Go on.
Paul James.
Of course.
I think he had two chances we could have gone on the Lions tours. But 2013, I felt like he should have gone. I felt like he was
Who went in 2013 loose heads? It would have been Mako.
So Mako, Cian Healy, Geffen Jenkins. And then when there was an injury, Corbusier and Ryan Grant both came in.
Well, Ryan Grant was only there because he played in Australia.
No, that was...
Tom Court, that was.
Tom Court. Ryan Grant was on good form. Like, he was one of those players.
I remember Ryan Grant a lot.
Got called up for the Lions and then fell off the face of the earth. And it happens every now and again.
If you watch the DVD, there's a great rendition of Carly Rae Jepsen. Ryan Grant. Wow. It wasn't a journey, but he just kept going back.
Yeah.
Ryan Grant for me falls into like the Mark Thomas category. Okay. I don't know why. But yeah, fair. He was in good form.
But yeah, the bench reasonable, and well, the
Yeah.
further you get on, the more and more kind of psychic damage it starts to do. It's like Gareth Morris,
Adrian
Adrian
Durston's good. I
Durston,
like
solid
Adrian
player.
Durston. Ricky
Ricky Richards,
Richards.
no memory of.
No,
Chris Wells,
don't remember him.
don't remember.
Steve Tandy, jump
Steve
scare.
Tandy. The names that crop up that are important through Ospreys history for different reasons. And him, Millward, like Gavin Henson, I guess. Lyndon Bateman. Remember Lyndon Bateman?
Good player.
And then Kai Griffiths. Now DOR at London Welsh.
And a really nice man.
Yeah. I met him briefly at that Sharks game last season. Yeah. Seems a nice enough guy.
He is Lyndon Bateman has a full head of hair, but seems like he should be bald.
Yes. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it.
He was forced to retire through injury. So I haven't watched the video for this game, right?
No.
And I don't even know if it exists, is it?
I couldn't find anything.
I couldn't find.
I did find out there, by which I mean it was clicked as the next story on the Munster website. Their Q&A, get to know the player profile of Owen Redden.
No, but that was a barrel of laughs.
And I'll tell you what, there's some great answers here. There's one interesting one where they ask him, like, what other sport do you play now, though he's a professional rugby player? And he says, none. What's the best part of being a professional rugby player? He says, the matches. The worst part is having to work on Saturday. The other thing is, like, these are answered with terrible grammar, but the questions are fine. So clearly he's written them himself in like an email somewhere.
I can't be asked to do this. Please leave me alone.
Biggest influence on my rugby career, family. Rugby player who admires the most is David Nolan. I don't know who David Nolan is.
That's an accountant.
Yeah, one rule change he'd like to make to rugby is no kicking allowed. Which is the player who went on to
career off box kicking.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. Career he'd chosen other than business. I love. No, sorry. Career he'd chosen over than rugby is just business.
Business.
He just loved to be in business.
What's that scene in the In-Betweeners where he's like, I'm taking care of business. That's Owen Redden.
That's Owen Redden to a T. So what Steve Walsh went on to do is just business.
He's got a tattoo that says, he who controls the business controls the game.
Yeah. He expected New Zealand to win the 2003 World Cup. Unlucky on that one. Famously, that World Cup final was called off. They just called it a draw at full time. Though after the Scarlets win that one, did they make it that far?
No, they didn't make it this year either.
Korea, when rugby is complete, question mark, as though he doesn't think it's ever going to happen.
Yeah,
what is Owen Redden doing now?
To be fair, I didn't think Owen Redden would ever retire. Same with Isaac Boss. I didn't think he'd ever retire either. I'm pretty sure Isaac Boss still hasn't retired.
He is now a marketing executive at Avalon. So good on him.
I really wished you said Avon then. That would have really made my day if he was at Avon.
And then, end of season, you've been offered the choice. Like, what do you want to get up to? They then, bizarrely, and this is the most naughtiest question on the list, right? All expenses, week-long paid holiday, warm weather clinic with Alan Gaffney, or all expenses, week-long warm weather clinic with Jennifer Lopez. Which would you rather?
So when was it? 2003. So what was Jennifer
2003.
Lopez in 2000? What's she doing in 2003?
Well, this is like post out of sight, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's like peak of her, Jenny from the Rock, Jenny from the
which is
Rock.
a banger, remains a banger.
Don't be fooled by the rocks that she's got. But which one do you think Owen Redden chose in 2003?
Alan Gaffney. It has to be. No way he chose Jennifer Lopez.
Owen Redden wrote 6 question marks.
He doesn't know what
he doesn't know what warm weather or Jennifer Lopez is.
What was she doing in 2003?
Probably like acting and singing.
She got divorced.
Yeah,
she was under media scrutiny and career downturn. So well done, Owen Redding. You caused the career downturn of Jennifer
That was
Lopez.
the moment that brought her down.
That was it.
She needed hustlers. She
Yeah.
needed it purely because of you, Owen Redding.
Your retirement inspired her to make On the Floor with Pitbull.
We
Afrojack.
almost never had Marry Me, the greatest movie ever made. We almost never had it. The unironically brilliant movie Marry Me, which everyone should watch. We almost never had Marry Me starring Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson. Can you believe that? All down to Owen Redding. I can't believe that Owen Redding would almost destroy society in the way it did.
Well, she would have been making around this time Shall We Dance?
Oh yeah,
with Richard Gere.
the remake.
Monster in Law.
Yes, that is a film that exists.
Then she went and made, Border Town, yeah. That was a weird one. And then, she made it sort of big, went into did the backup plan, and then it was all like, Ice Age.
This was like the era where mid-budget rom-coms were popular and people.
They ruled the world.
Yeah,
they ruled the world. And
the era of Reese Witherspoon was the most bankable.
I want to go back to that time.
So bad, man. So Anyone But You is a solid start, but like I want 4 of those a month.
She was in Ants in 1998.
Oh.
Do you remember that one? The one with Cillian, the one with the bloke the ant who looks like Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, this is a boring story. I had an operation when I was a kid. And I remember the kid on the next bed had a TV and I didn't. And he was watching Ants. I was trying to watch it over his shoulder because I had nothing to do in my bed.
That's weirdly depressing.
I know. Anyway, that's the team.
Okay, that was good player.
That was good player.
Quite frankly, that was a good one. I enjoyed that one.
We spent so little of this episode talking about the move to St Helens, which is the whole reason we're here.
But why would you not want to hear about David Pusey being able to drive helicopters?
That's true. That's true. Do you think maybe that's what you're going to do with the other space? Because there is also, we didn't mention the fan zone coming in as well.
Yeah, fan zone.
Very vague on the fan zone. We don't really know what it's going to look like.
Well, I
think it's going to have a helicopter landing.
The fan zone is going to be fan oriented. I think they are collating data for the fan zone. So I think wait for that. But I think that should be us.
Yeah.
That was very enjoyable. I did enjoy that. I
suppose the one other thing is there's apparently a 4-step program with this move where the first step is moving everything over.
Oh my God, Elliot Stokes here is a 4-step program. Sorry.
There's a 4-phase program.
Yes.
Giant ants are going to invade. That is as niche as I'm going to get. Saul Bass is drawing it up himself.
Saul Bass. There's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Saul Bass, directed a film about giant killer ants called Phase 4, which is one of these films that you're told is like a classic, important like horror monster movie. It's boring. Anyway, the point is, 4-phase program is supposedly the thing. First stage is this move to have match days there. Phase 2 is going to be moving training facilities over.
Yes.
If we come to that and that comes. But then you're potentially looking at Phase 3 likely being, as Lance Bradley's talked about a number of times, including on this podcast, business of facilities coming over and building that in. And there's talk as well around Swansea Uni wanting to build a sports science park. So I imagine that fits in there. And potentially really good for the Ospreys' future to have all of that being committed to that region and into that area. And so then, potentially Phase 4 being the hotel we discussed before and adding all of those other like features in around it.
Yeah.
So that'd be exciting, but it shows that there are lots of long-term plans. This isn't just they're going to put up some new stands next year.
Yeah, I think people are not realizing this actually, especially the ones who are downplaying it is, guys, they have thought about this.
Yeah.
Like this is why they're doing it as a phased movement. So
there's a reason that this has been announced now
and
not when Andy Howe was claiming it was sorted 2 years ago.
Oh, that was fun. That was a great exchange on Twitter.
Gareth fans come all over again.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, so there's a lot happening. There's a lot going on. There's a lot that is still being sorted, but we know what's happening and we've got these kind of steps into it. As I said, they're currently working with Swansea Council to work out the actual building of it. But yeah, we're just over a year away from the Ospreys being back at a permanent stadium that belongs to them, where they'll make proper revenue week to week, where they can get bigger crowds in. And I reckon, in a more vibes up stadium that's behind this team, they're going to win more games there.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. And I think we're going to leave it on that note.
Yeah.
So, I have been James. You have been Robbie.
Only because I've got no choice.
Yeah. We are going to continue on this break. Hopefully...
unless we do sign Richie McCaw.
Unless
there will be another emergency.
If we sign Richie McCaw, then I will become unbearable. We are hoping, I think I can announce this now, we are hoping to interview Toby relatively soon. When they go back into camp. Yeah, Toby Fricker of the New England Free Jacks.
Yeah.
We are hoping to do that.
Booth, to be clear.
Yeah, this is Booth.
Yeah.
We're waiting for him to get back into camp. I'm going to give him a message this week, just say, can you give me a date? But yeah, so that is happening. So Cardiff, you can have your Dickie Holland interviews and your Garen Smith interviews. We're having Boothie on. And I might see if we can get some more as well. But that's us. We'll see you around the time of the Exeter game, unless any massive bombshells drop. But it'll be the Exeter game for us. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we shall see you soon. Bye now.
Thank you for listening to the Ospreys Irie podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to us, as it really helps spread the word. You can find us on all the usual social media channels or email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. And remember, whatever the question, rugby is always the answer.
Sports Social Podcast Network.